Hello people, how we doing? Welcome to the channel. Just basking in the glorious for Scotland at least. This is probably crappy weather in some warm countries, but Scotland isn't a warm country. Well, the people are warm, but it's another story, innit? People make Glasgow and all that. But I just want to say that I'm going to make a video about Tasmin Glass and a recall to prison. And obviously, now that I've kind of monetized my channel and stuff, I need to point out that obviously there's got to be details in videos like this that some people maybe find distressing or upsetting. But what I also say is I don't know why people would watch any of these videos. If you know what it's about, then if you feel you're going to be triggered or offended, I wouldn't watch it. But I would just, and that isn't like trying to gaslight people into feeling guilty, like they're doing something wrong by watching it. It's no that's not the case. I'm just meaning you realise that there will be a possibility of being triggered, offended, upset, or things like that by watching true crime content, criminal justice content. So if you're easily triggered or offended, then all I'm saying is I'd maybe think twice about watching it past this point. So before we get into it, I just want to say that I've noticed that there's been a couple of anonymous comments coming in my live chats. The first one was about my biological mother, um, who I didn't meet until I was 10 years old, and who I think was probably one of the worst people that I'd ever met in my life. And it's no exaggeration to say that. Um, Making comments about it, clearly trying to trigger me, but it takes a lot to get me triggered like that. And then last night there was comments about my son, like, it's what I always say, the direct approach. I admire the direct approach in people hiding behind anonymous accounts. You can sit and try and do this stuff all day, you're not going to really get anywhere. But I also realise that it's part and parcel of YouTube and the back streets as they call them. So feel free to help the algorithm. You get what I'm saying? But other than that, I want to move on to the story, because I realise that I've not been putting a lot of videos out recently, and I noticed it's really been down to because I've been doing a lot of lives, because I started out doing YouTube lives, and then just kind of finding my feet, and then progressed to the lives on StreamYard, which I find it a lot better because you can have people up in panels and all that stuff. But I'm going to start dropping more videos anyway, so and I've activated memberships and stuff like that, but I've not put them out yet, do you know. Um, but things will happen when they happen. So this case is actually pretty well publicised in Scotland. Tasmin Glass was this young lady from Kirriemuir, which is a small town in, I believe it's just outside Arbroath, towards the northeast. Um, she was in a relationship with a guy, Stephen Donaldson, and when the relationship soured, he had attempted to recuperate money that he had loaned her. I believe it was like £1,000 for a car or whatever it was, something to do with a vehicle. And when he's been trying to recuperate this money, she's either told him she's not paying it, she can't pay it, or she won't pay it, whatever. And while this has been going on, she has been fraternising with these two other local guys, Callum Davidson and Stephen Dickey, I believe their names were. and I believe that they were known in the local community for violence, drinking, you know, the fucking, like the town meatheads, if you get me, knuckle draggers, whatever. And Tasmin Glass has been central to this case, right? Without her, this crime would not have occurred, because these two guys would have had no reason to really be in contact with Stephen Donaldson. But Stephen Donaldson has been persistent in trying to recuperate his money, and rightfully so. And rather than pay it back, Tasmin Glass has been I believe she manipulated these two guys into doing the damage, right? So there's been a bit of back and forth, text messages, whatever, and she has lured Stephen Donaldson to a child's play park at, you know, late at night, pitch black, whatever. And when she's arranged this rendezvous, she has had these two guys in the car with weapons. But on approach to the location, she has allowed them to exit the car and come up the road, so that it's if she's drove in on her own. And obviously, I think she got into Stephen's car to speak to him. And while he's been distracted, they have ambushed him. She's drove away, presumably to try and construct an alibi. And Stephen has been brutally murdered and set on fire. Pretty horrendous circumstances that a lot of us couldn't really comprehend. But she has been central to this case, as I say. And what really got to me was, if you watch the interrogation CCTV when they're being interviewed by detectives, she looks completely unperturbed and defiant, like she thinks her shit doesn't stink, which only kind of bothered me even more. Her interpersonal style, she just, and this is the thing, I believe she must have some sort of sociopathic tendencies, because normally, confronted with a crime of this magnitude, you would expect to see somebody like her. And what I mean somebody like her is like somebody that's never been in trouble, probably never seen a lot of violence in her life, if any at all, probably raised in a stable home environment, whatever. She's completely cold. And this was the funny thing, is it turned out that she was, I don't want to say an actress, but she was in plays and stuff like that. So it was almost like watching this interrogation, like she felt she was playing a part in an episode of Taggart or Law and Order or something. Like, she was completely unfazed by the fact that she was being interrogated for murder, and that tells you a lot about somebody. And I don't think you don't see that a lot, do you know? Normally you'd expect her to be wailing and crying and playing the damsel in distress. I didn't know they were going to kill him and all this crap. When the matter of the fact is, it was her that killed him. She orchestrated this. Without her, this would not have happened. So, something else that's even more annoying as shit is she was bailed. She got bail, right, while the other two were remanded in custody pending trial. What is wrong with our justice system, where a lot of females who protest that they want equal treatment to men across the board in society, as I've said before, but the only place women do not want to be treated equally to men is the criminal justice system and the penal system, which I think is totally wrong. gender should not factor into the legal system unless you were attacked by a male and you had to defend yourself, right? So you're being attacked for maybe you're a female, whatever, like that kind of crime. No, like, oh, I helped these two guys murder my ex-partner, the father of her unborn child, I might add, and please bail me because I wouldn't handle being in a prison. I would, to me, right, see in my book, if I was a judge, she's more culpable than both of them, because without her, this crime would not have occurred. And that's one of the galling things about this case. But when it's went to trial, she was sentenced, right, to 10 years for culpable homicide, which in Scotland is basically you killed somebody but you didn't mean to kill them. She drove them to the scene. She dropped them off down the road. They had weapons. What did she think was going to happen? And that, I think that's the way she presented to the murder squad was to me was very telling. But the other two guys were sentenced to life imprisonment, and one of them actually committed suicide in 2021 in prison, I think. It was 2021. Don't know if it was the COVID dub-ups or whatever. But so Tasmin Glass was released at the 5-year point of her 10-year sentence. So her first parole attempt, she got parole. Normally you would expect to see a parole board refuse the first attempt, maybe give her a second attempt in 18 months or another year, and then put extra measures in place to supervise her if she's released. But she got parole at her first attempt and moved to East Lothian, just outside Edinburgh. Obviously there's been a lot of media runner, like, oh, she was photographed picking her kid up for school and all that. Like, well, you need to pick your kid up for school, but yesterday it was reported in the Scottish media that she was recalled to prison, and it didn't specify why she was recalled to prison. But if I had to guess, obviously being somebody who has been released from prison on parole licence, which is basically you get out at, say, the halfway point of your sentence, the 2/3, whatever, and they write up this big list of rules. You must not leave the United Kingdom. You must not associate with, just say, members of organised crime. If you were convicted of organised crime charges, you would expect to see that. But I never had that, obviously, because I wasn't involved in stuff like that. But you're getting what I'm meaning. So you'll have standard ones that are like, you must not leave the United Kingdom without consulting your parole officer, which is, I think everybody gets that. But there's special ones that are specific to your case. So she would have probably had ones that would say on it, like, you must not enter Kirriemuir, which is the small town where this crime occurred. I would have expected to definitely see that on her licence conditions, and things like you will not contact your victim's family. So if she's been recalled, it could have been any a number of day things, unless she has been charged with a new offence. That could also be a reason. But that's just speculation at this point. But I'm going to read the STV News article, just to give people that maybe haven't watched it a kind of insight. So the headline is, woman who planned ex-boyfriend's murder back in prison after early release. A woman who planned her ex-boyfriend's murder has been returned to prison after being granted early release. Stephen Donaldson from Arbroath was brutally murdered in 2018 by two men after his former girlfriend Tasmin Glass lured him to a play park. The 27-year-old's loved ones were told on Tuesday that Glass had been sent back to prison. It comes 9 months after she was granted parole in July 2024, halfway through her 10-year sentence for culpable homicide. Her release depended on following conditions which included a ban on her entering Angus and Dundee, as well as approaching the family. So that's what I just explained there. That's kind of, that would have been almost a given that she would have been given those kind of conditions before release. But it says she was 20 years old when she lured her former boyfriend Stephen Donaldson to a play park in Kirriemuir in 2018 before two men, Callum Davidson and Stephen Dickey, attacked him and then brutally killed him at a nearby nature reserve. The trio were given a combined sentence of 57 years. One of the men convicted for murdering Mr. Donaldson, Stephen Dickey, took his own life in prison in 2019. So 2021, I said, that's obviously incorrect. The Scottish Prison Service confirmed that Dickey had died at HMP Perth. Last year, Mr. Donaldson's loved ones described the news of Glass's release as a disaster, saying it's not the outcome they wanted, but they did say they were pleased to see restrictions on her freedom put in place. It is not known why Glass was returned to prison. So there you have it. Really, as I say, just speculation at this point. But in my view, she shouldn't have even been released. She was the nucleus of this whole drama. Just totally manipulating people, and that isn't me trying to let the two guys off the hook, because they didn't sound too pleasant, to be fair. And I think they'd been in trouble with the law before, but it reminded me of my own offence, right? When I was charged with attempted murder and serious assault in 2003, which was basically a kind of gang fight outside a bar, and the four of us were charged with this, and the judge had said to me, without you this crime would never have happened. So what he was basically saying was, you got into a fight with two older guys outside a bar, it kicked off, people came and helped you, and some guy ended up seriously hurt. Two guys were hurt, one was seriously hurt. She's basically saying, if you never get into a fight with these two guys, these guys, this wouldn't have happened. So what I want to know is, that's a rule for everybody, art and part, or joint enterprise, whatever you want to call it. That's a rule for everybody, or it's a rule for nobody. How can, I know every case is different, but how can you seriously look at her case and say she's guilty of culpable homicide? She's guilty of murder. I'm no lawyer, but I've been round the block a few times. Know what I mean? Fuck's sake, I'm no Columbo, but I'm no fucking Matlock, but I've been in plenty of court cases. You get what I'm saying? Just nonsense. And I don't think she'll have access to this video, but if you're watching, reflect on your situation and enjoy the weather. Enjoy your slab pie and your white mountains. Your slab pie and your white mountains, that's what you used to call mashed potatoes in prison, white mountains. Big eyes sticking at them and everything. Oh, what? Aye, fucking scumbag, man. Do you know what I mean? And think about her kid having to grow up with that knowledge. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl, but there's going to come a point where, do you know, this is going to come up, because it's too high profile as well, and it's just sad, man. all these things, like, because I feel anybody that commits crimes, you're making your family members victims of crime as well, because they need to go through the turmoil of the case and the police and the system and the prison system and all that. So that's my thoughts on it. But I hope she's enjoying her dub up. I'm gonna leave it there anyway. So I just thought I would drop this vid because I tried to do it yesterday and it just wasn't happening. So I just left it and I went for something to eat with my kid. Enjoyed the weather, and that's what I'm gonna go and do right now. So everybody, you take care. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time I'm back on. Over and out.